Welcome, everybody. This is the Microsoft 365 Platform Community Call. It is December 6th, 2022. As I just mentioned before we started the recording, it is the Independence Day of Finland as well. So we are having a bit of a special day in my location right now. My name is Vesa Juvonen. I'm a Principal Product Manager. I don't know what's my title anymore in the Microsoft 365 platform areas. But today we'll go through, of course, the typical set of slides and updates on what's happening. We'll go through assets relatively quickly. We'll go through the latest news and then also the updates on the Teams platform documentation side. And then we'll do a group photo again with together mode. We'll capture that today. And then we have 3 demos. So today we'll probably get to them in 10 past or 15 past or quarter past the hour. Isaac will start with Microsoft Python SDK public preview update. Then we'll go to Waldek around building one productivity hub with SPFx for Teams, Microsoft 365 app, that's by the way Office, Outlook and SharePoint. And then I'm going to talk a bit about our Microsoft Viva Toolkit to kickstart your Microsoft Viva extensibility development. That's pretty cool as well. Now, before we go to the actual demos, let's quickly recap all of the different assets what we have available. We do have 2 different YouTube channels available. The both URL you can see on the slides. We are looking into combining these to one, so making it a bit more easier to understand what goes where and where you can find the latest videos. We do release at least 1 new video every single business day, so you probably want to subscribe, especially on the community video channel side, because there's new stuff available there all the time. We do have a lot of open source assets available, but it might be a bit difficult to find the relevant sample for you, so that's why we have the different set of sample galleries. Sample galleries for Teams development, for SPFx development, web parts, and list formatting, and many, many more. The number 1 gallery is the AKMS M365 samples, from where you can find all of the different samples from the community or from Microsoft. So making it super easy for people to find what's relevant for you. Now, if you're wondering that there's too many URLs to remember, luckily there's only one, which is AKMS M365 community, and from there you can find all of the details and assets which we mentioned in the slides. Now, we do have quite a lot of developer community calls. This is the weekly Microsoft 365 platform call, which happens every single Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific time. We're going to talk a bit about holiday schedule in upcoming slides as well. On top of this, we have Microsoft Identity Platform, Office Admin and Power Platform monthly calls. And then we have the Thursday 7 a.m. Pacific time series, which is either Microsoft 365 Power Platform community call or Viva Connection and SharePoint Framework community call. Those demos are typically by the community for the community. So really kind of a showcasing what people have done and built on top of our Microsoft 365 platform. As you're starting and looking into getting started on Microsoft 365 development, we recommend you to first of all sign up and register to the Microsoft 365 developer program. You will get a free E5 developer tenant from there, which will renew automatically as long as you use it for developer purposes. And there's a lot of awesome material available from Microsoft Learn related on the Learn modules. So really getting into understanding how you can do extensibility in Microsoft 365, and all of that is free as well. On top of that, we also have 2 different podcasts, podcast series, so to say. One is Microsoft 365 Developer Podcast, hosted by Paul Chafflin and Jeremy Fick, and then the second one is Microsoft 365 PMP Weekly, hosted by Waldek Mastercards, who's doing a demo today, and me, who's doing a demo today as well. Both of them are covering the latest updates, and also they have a visitors typically in the show to talk about something related on extensibility or experiences within Microsoft 365. So really, really cool stuff. Now, I already mentioned the Microsoft 365 sample gallery, AKMS M365 samples, one location to find more than 1,300 samples, which is pretty cool. So you can easily find a relevant sample for you. So don't start from scratch. Rather have a look on if there's an existing sample where it can give you some insights and help to actually speed up your development. It's really easiest way to increase your productivity. Now, as you might be then wondering on, okay, so there's the samples available. How would I actually use these samples, or how would I actually start contributing maybe as a sample? We do have our Sharing-is-Caring initiative hosted by David Warner, Emily Mancini, Hugo Bernier, and many others, where we basically have no recording, smaller group people trainings where we'll help you to get started on all of this awesomeness. So basically getting started on contributing or adjusting anything in the samples or using the samples and so on. There are new sessions available for registration at the AKMS Sharing-is-Caring URL. From there you can find the timings and you can register upcoming sessions as well. So please take a look on that. Now, I did touch briefly the holiday season, which is creeping in, so to say. So starting from 20th of December, we'll have a 3 weeks section where we will not actually have the Tuesday call as part of the demo. So here, what we want to do is that we'll keep the timing. So Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time, but we'll have basically Microsoft people like me in this call to go through Q&A, random chit chats, and whatever comes to mind. So basically, during those 3 weeks from 20th of December until January 3rd, that's the third week going forward, we will not have live demos or anything on these calls. We'll basically just have a discussion, and if there's any ad hoc jokes, and Todd can join us and do his dad during those 3 weeks. So we'll have anyway fun. You can jump in and stay or say hi for the holidays and jump out as you need it, but we don't want to cancel the calls either, but no demos for those. Now, one other thing what I wanted to call out is that we are currently conducting a Microsoft Graph satisfaction survey, and we would really appreciate you to answer the survey. So fill in the form and give us insight on what's actually your feelings around the Microsoft Graph and how we can improve. Now, before we go to the actual demos and to get them a picture capture and all of that, quick recap on the latest news. So first of all, we did release a SharePoint Framework 1.16.1 version last week. I'm watching the date, and it is last week. Now, we did actually have a minor boo-boo on that release. You can quote me on that. That is an official professional way of saying that there was a bug or regression. And we basically reverted the latest version of SharePoint Framework point to the 1.16. So that means that when you're installing SharePoint Framework, you will actually get 1.16, not 1.16.1. Whenever the server-side fixes are rolling out worldwide, we will automatically update the latest version in NPM pointed to 1.16.1, and that will then fix whatever the situation was. So there was a bit of a inconvenience in here, what's happening, and hopefully that gives some level of an insight why you are installing 1.16 if you now install the latest version of SharePoint Framework. Now, you can still use 1.16. It's production ready, production signed. 1.16.1 was basically just a small inconvenience fixes here and there, nothing too critical, and no security related issues and all of that. Now, we also released a Microsoft Graph Developer Proxy community preview last week. I had the pleasure of announcing that in the SharePoint Office 365 and Azure conference in the keynote, which was really cool. That is available now. It is a great tool to mimic network connectivity or throttling issues when you're implementing or writing your code against Microsoft Graph. So if you would be using, for example, the developer tenant, it's a developer tenant where we have one user, you. How could you ever be ready for 429s or throttling or whatever exceptions within a server? You can. Using this developer proxy, you can mimic those situations and basically make your code ready for handling exceptions, which might happen in production. So really cool stuff to make things easier. And then principle for monetizing selected Microsoft 365 APIs. That's a new blog post from Friday. It talks about the monetization of some of those APIs. You can check it out for more details in there. There was also a new blog post in the Teams blog related on Adobe Acrobat streamlining the PDF experience in Microsoft Teams. And it is basically a partner story on the Adobe Acrobat style. And then there's two great blog posts from the Teams and also from SharePoint related on what's new. And these are the great monthly summaries related on what's happening within the Teams or what's happening within a SharePoint or Viva in all of these areas. So really cool as well. Now, before we go to the group photo, I will hand it to Vachit to talk about what's latest in the Microsoft Teams platform documentation.
Thanks, Vesa. Hello, everyone. I'd walk you through the Teams platform. So let's start with the first one. So sharing meeting feature is available in developer preview now. It allows user to share document or third-party web apps to the meeting stage. The meeting participants can collaborate and interact with the third-party web apps or edit the documents together. During the meeting, when a user selects the Share in Meetings button from the third-party web app or a document, it launches a deep link to the meeting stage and opens up an app, a web view in a meeting stage. For the meeting participants to interact with the third-party web app, they must have meeting extension app installed in their Teams client. If they don't have, Teams prompts participant to install the meeting extension. Second update, we have introduced ready to try app manifest for you to try out the platform features without you writing a code. To try this, you need a demo tenant, and you can get a free developer tenant by signing up for Microsoft 365 Developer Program. Next, you'll need to enable the side loading so that you'd be able to sideload these sample app manifests, and you can try out any of these app manifests available in demo manifest folder. So please do try it out. All the instructions provided to try out are present in the repo, or you can go to ak.ms Teams sample repo. So these were the platform updates. If you have any feedback or suggestion, please post it on ak.ms Teams platform feedback. The link is available in the footer. You could also follow us on Twitter and configure to the RSS feed to get the regular platform updates. Thank you. Back to you, Vesa.
Excellent. Thank you, Vajay, on that one. And then we'll do a quick crew photo of today before we go to the actual demo. So let's see if I can adjust things again properly. And let's use actually that one. That's actually really good. We have, let's wait 10 more seconds. I can see a lot of familiar faces on the room. This is really, really good. All the excitement. And Todd, yes, you look really smart on the back row. So really, really good. Good, good. Few more seconds and we'll start the recording. Let me put the recording enabled and we'll grab and let's do some hand waving and do some waving for everybody. Good to see you once again on the call. Awesome to see you here. Let's do some hand waving, everybody. Excellent, excellent. Really, really good. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining again. We'll grab a GIF animation out of that. So those are always fun. Now, I wanted to talk about an introduction to Microsoft Viva Toolkit, which is there designed to kickstart your Microsoft Viva extensibility experience. And I'm going to talk about the positioning, why and how and what does it actually do. The previous demo talked about the SharePoint framework and scenarios. The SharePoint framework is really intended to be the easiest way to build your enterprise solution for Microsoft 365 using pro code methods. So of course you can build your enterprise solutions using Power Platform. That's absolutely a fine option as well. But SharePoint framework is then for pro development. Power Platform is for no code, low code options. And really the benefits is the automatic single sign-on, automatic hosting, which is by far the most widely, let's say, raised benefit. And actually one pretty recently raised consideration was that many of our partners are saying that customers are willing rather willing to use SharePoint framework because the code is actually hosted within their tenant. So you're not accessing or allowing an application externally from Azure or AWS accessing your tenant. No, the code itself is hosted in the customer tenant. So it's super secure, compliance and everything else taken into account. Consistent development experience, and it is industry standard tooling using TypeScript and web stack development. And like we covered already in the past as well, using the SharePoint framework, we can nowadays do much more. So it's not just for SharePoint, it's for Microsoft Viva, it's for Teams, it's for Outlook and Microsoft 365, and actually even more is coming. So there's a lot of cool stuff in the roadmap and in the pipeline. Now, in this case, we want to talk about the Microsoft Viva extensibility options, and I wanted to actually do some graphical slides first to showcase what are we explicitly talking here. So the Microsoft Viva Toolkit is a Visual Studio Code extension, which is targeted to simplify the Microsoft Viva extensibility. So creating these ACEs, adaptive card components, which basically are those card style components, which you can see in the Microsoft, the Viva Home on the left side, or in the mobile experiences, or in the Viva Connection experience on the right side. So you will see us rolling out the Viva Home gradually, and then of course we have these same cards, same extensibility options, same ACEs. An option to do mobile, desktop, tablet views are coming pretty soon, and all of that stuff. So there's a lot of benefits, a lot of investments from the Microsoft side around these ACEs. Now, as you use SharePoint framework to build the Microsoft Viva extensibility, why did we actually create the Viva Toolkit? Now, a lot of the partners who started building extensibility for Microsoft Viva don't necessarily have a previous knowledge about SharePoint framework or previous knowledge about web parts, previous knowledge about Microsoft 365. So we wanted to actually build a tool which simplifies the getting started and experience. So you can basically just install the tool from the Visual Studio Code extension gallery, and it will help you to actually get started. So it will show you how to get started. It will link to the docs. It will check your environment. It will automatically install all of the dependencies. And those are really important thing for us as well as a Microsoft, because quite often, as we see in the SharePoint framework issue list, where people are having issues, those issues are quite often related on environmental setups or some dependencies are missing. So we wanted to have a tool which will make it easy for any developer. Just click a button and it will install the needed environment variables, environment setup, and you can always check that there's environment ready to go or not, and it will actually fix itself as well. We also wanted to provide a sample and scenario-based start. So basically, if you're looking into building an ACE, an adaptive card extensibility for Viva, which is connecting for Graph, you can actually select that scenario as a starting point, and you'll actually have immediately a solution which is connecting to the Graph with code tour step-by-step guidance. So you will be explained what are we doing in the code, and then basically explained how to get stuff done. So objective here is really to simplify development. Now, there is a slide for this one in the later starts. But I wanted to maybe mention this one already in here. So if you are familiar with SharePoint framework, why would you use something like this as a Visual Studio Code? Well, you don't have to. This is completely optional. And this is something which overlays automation from the Yeoman generator, from the SharePoint framework Yeoman generator, which we as a Microsoft are providing, and CLI for Microsoft 365. So all of the features and capabilities what you see within the Viva Toolkit are already available in GA, either from CLI for Microsoft 365 or as a shipped SharePoint framework Yeoman generator. What it does, however, do is that you don't need to remember the commands in the command line. If you do, all good, you can keep on doing the command line. But for the new developers, this is really intended to make it easier for them to get started, easier to get access on the, for example, just where's my app catalog in this tenant? Well, you can just click the URL and it will get opened within the browser. So really trying to simplify the development experience. And of course, we're trying to make it easier for everybody to deploy, test, and automate, have the documentation in place, and make it super, super sweet. I will show a lot of the stuff in the live demo. As mentioned, I know if you already know the Yeoman generator, why would you use this? You don't have to. You definitely don't need to use this toolkit if you don't want to. What I'm seeing, even in my personal usage, is that it actually starts helping me. I can quickly go and just to the extension, click a button, and it will do some things rather than going to the command line. It's a matter of a preference. Behind the scenes, again, it's always using the official Yeoman generator or the CLI for Microsoft 365. So it's not doing anything surprising. It's just this simplification, abstraction on top of the command line. Now, what's available within the Viva Toolkit? We have a connected to your tenant option, so you can actually easily see operations and the URLs within your tenant. So you can sign in against the tenant. I'll show you that one in practice. You can do the environment validation, which is a super important thing as well, mentioned already. So double checking that I have the required dependencies in place and all of that stuff. I can install the dependencies. So if something is missing, I can click a button and the tooling will make sure that my environment is ready to go, which is super, super cool. It does support updating of the solution with CLI for Microsoft 365. So again, behind the scenes, a lot of this automation is using the standardized command line tooling, which you would be using anyway, but it's just behind of a button, behind of the click through. Start from scenario and sample, which is really, really cool. You can see an example related on call Microsoft Graph to get data in a code tour. Step number 3. So basically, we have a step-by-step guidance which is explaining this is what we're doing here. This is why it's important. Here's additional information. And this actually works in any SharePoint framework project, which is quite interesting. So of course, we prioritize the Viva with this one. But if you open the Viva Toolkit in a solution folder with SharePoint framework in it, or SharePoint framework solution, it actually gives you already additional value. And I'll show you that one in a second as well. So it does adapt on any SharePoint framework project. Let's have a look on this one in practice. So let's start by looking into where can you get it. It is still in preview. And it's been available for a while. We haven't actually promoted this too much, but we wanted to actually do a recap on the promotion and then see when we will actually release the 1.0 version of this. Now, this is community created. We as a Microsoft, we do coordinate some of this work, we help with the work, but it's primarily led by the community, which, by the way, is open for contributions. We'll come back on that one in a second as well. But we want to make sure that this is an open source project where anybody can actually come and provide their contributions, and you can see openly what's happening within this. It is an overlay on top of the human generator and the tooling as mentioned. Now, if you go to the Visual Studio Code extensions listing and you search for Viva, you will actually find this one as the default entry there. You will need to do install the preview version because there is no release version available at this moment. So you can already use it and it is safe to use it. So it's basically, again, as it's an overlay on top of SPFx, there's no additional gimmicks, there's no additional operation what it actually is doing behind the scenes. So it's actually safe to be used even in production usage, which is pretty cool. But officially we want to still test out things and make sure that it's super polished before we release a 1.0 version of this tooling. Now, as it's being then installed, it's actually visible right now as that icon on the left menu. We'll probably change that a bit, the icon, whenever the timing, well, whenever we have time to do that. And if I click that one, we can actually see the main operations which are available with the Viva Connection Toolkit. So it is adapting similar way as the Teams Toolkit, and I'll come back on what does that mean in practice in the future. Now, we can start creating a Viva Connection project, and it will actually start going through the human generator questions. So basically, where do you want to save this? What is the name? What is the solution? All of that stuff. One option, or alternatively, you can actually create from scenario, and these are the code tour scenarios provided by us by Waldek. Waldek already did the previous demo today, which is cool. Thank you, Waldek, on the awesome work on this. Or you can actually have a look on the view samples, and these are the ACE samples, adaptive card samples, which are available, and you can actually start from any of the existing sample. As you download the sample down, it will automatically update all of the GUIDs and settings and everything else so that the solution which you created is not hard copy of the sample with the same matching solution IDs and all of that. No, it's actually a fresh new solution with that code which is in place. So it really makes it easy for you to get started on top of any of the existing sample which we have available. Or I can actually check the dependencies, which is really cool. So I can double check my environment. Quite often people have whatever confusion versions or whatever is available, and I can double check this. Anything, my environment is ready to go, and you can actually see the messages then. That, well, in my case, I have obviously everything installed. And then, as said, I can start from scenario and create the solution. Now, in my case, I already created the solution to save some time, and the solution is already available here. It is a typical A solution open in the right side, and of course, it is a typical SPFx solution. Again, you can use terminal, you can use your command line, but if you want to, you can go to the extension, and then it will give you additional set of operation. As an example, you can sign into your tenant, and after that, it will automatically detect where the app catalog is. And if I need to open up the app catalog, I'll just click the URL, and voila, I'm in the app catalog. So I can easily operate between my development, my experiences, all of that. I can easily do deployment of the solution, which will automatically deploy that to the app catalog. It will detect automatically things. We can do upgrade solution. Technically, right now, there's a small delay because of dependencies of versions with CLI for Microsoft 365, but that's working as well. And I can easily access the documentation and samples and adaptive card designer tooling as well. So making it super, again, easy for developers to do this. Now, we're not going to spend too much time from a timing perspective in here, but what I wanted to actually show is this one. And we'll, by the way, have a lot of more samples available and videos around this tooling pretty soon. But as an example, the code which Waldek showed you was the SPFx productivity dashboard. Yeah, I know. The point of this one, thank you, Waldek, for being me. Point is not what's on the code, what's on that screen. So that's why I didn't actually increase that, but fair point. Now, the sample which Waldek showed us is an SPFx solution, and that was a web part with a Teams part, with the manifest and all of that stuff. Well, this is a bit of a different, it is actually manifest version 1.14. Now, what's really cool about the Viva toolkit is that it actually can be used with any SPFx solution. So let me actually go one step back. Whenever the extension starts, there we go. Now we can actually see it, and I can activate that, and voila, I have detection of my tenant, detection of app catalog. I can do bundled the packages. I can do all of the different operations to any of the SPFx solutions as well. So it's not just about Viva, but it is primarily designed for increasing the Viva adoption or making the Viva adoption easier. Now, from a timing perspective, like I said, I'm not going to go too detailed on the scenarios. I wanted to add this to be more kind of an intro on what we have and what's available and how to get started. But then the question might be, what about alignment with Teams Toolkit? Yes. So what we're doing here is that we're basically doing a piloting and a proof of concept with Viva Toolkit. In the longer term, we are already aligned with the Teams Toolkit people that some of these learnings and some of the techniques, what we're doing here, are getting hopefully integrated in Teams Toolkit. And then the Teams Toolkit is extending for the Microsoft Viva as well. So making it kind of the one unified development story for Microsoft 365. So our intention is not to provide a competitor, rather as a incubation tool, a testing tool, to see is there a demand for this kind of tooling for SPFx, more efficient SPFx all up for all of the SPFx scenarios and for Viva, and then we'll adapt all of those learnings directly in the Teams Toolkit based on the feedback. Now, how would you get started on this one? Really simple URL, akms/viva/code. That is the location where you can actually find the extension. It is in preview. You can use it in production because it uses published SPFx version behind the scenes. Again, it does not do anything crazy behind or hidden things. We would love to have feedback and issues reported at github.com/pmp/vscode-viva. That is the actual location and the project where this is done. Now, this is an open source community-driven project. So we would love to have your contributions and ideas and feedback shared. And then we're looking into establishing a maintenance team together with our community members as well. We'll talk about more on that most likely after the holiday season as we get more videos out about this one. And then we establish the maintenance team as place. But if you're interested in doing this kind of VS Code extensions, we would love to get you involved in this project as well. Now, from a timing perspective, a lot of talking, a lot of things we need to close up. Thank you one more time for Waldek. Thank you one more time for Isaac and Samuel. Really, really cool demos today. The recording of this call will be available within 24 hours in the Microsoft 365 community YouTube channel. Please subscribe there. We have a new video every single business day released in that channel. So a lot of cool stuff for Microsoft 365, and follow us on Twitter. The next Microsoft 365 community platform call is on December 13th. That is still a normal call with 3 demos. And then the 3 calls after that one will be a coffee and tea kind of a discussion calls as we're heading to the holiday season. But thanks everybody for joining. Really, really awesome to have you in as part of the community. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please keep the feedback coming. Cheers. Bye-bye.